that one. There we go. So it should be recording. Awesome. There we go. Jonathan, morning, mate. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Hope everything's coming through clear. I'm actually out at a campground on Wi-Fi via Starlink, so hopefully everything's coming through loud and clear.
I did
Out in the
wonder.
middle of the national forest in the U.S. So
Yeah, I did wonder that, mate. You're in an RV or something? It looks a little bit
yeah,
RV-ish.
actually, yep, in an RV, hanging out at a campground. Yeah, Starlink's kicking in the background, so hopefully it's all coming through well.
Mate, seems to be working perfectly, mate. Better than me sitting at my own desk and well, people if they're watching the replay won't know, but we started a bit late because better than me because I couldn't even figure out to get into the right webinar and started everything late and sending Jonathan the wrong link to a closed webinar. So
No
that
worries.
that was great, mate. But what a time to be alive, mate. How good. You can use Starlink out in the national park and still be on webinars and talking to people. And we're, other side of the planet. Amazing. How good.
Good times.
Good times. So, mate, welcome. Thank you so much for coming along. I think we've been booked in a couple of times and we've had to postpone for one reason or another a
We
couple of times.
have.
So I'm so glad that we've actually got to come here. Now, if anyone doesn't know who Jonathan is, then they should. You run Whitebeard Strategies and the AI prompts for entrepreneurs. I believe it's like one of the, well, I don't know if it's the biggest or certainly one of the biggest AI Facebook groups that there is. And mate, what I absolutely love, because I mean I'm part of that group, and you personify leading with value at the end of the day. Like the amount of value that you give in the prompts, the tips, you go and review AI tools, just an absolute fountain of knowledge. So if anyone's not in there, we'll make sure that we put all the links to that, but they definitely have to come and join your AI entrepreneurs group. Um, but we'll dive into a few things, mate. But before we do you just want to give like a little intro of yourself? Like, how did you get into AI? Like,
Sure.
what's your journey? Because AI, it's still in its infancy in a way, but it has been going for a long time, and you are definitely at the forefront of it, mate.
Well, my background's actually in sales and marketing, and I spent a good part of my career selling for other people. Spent about 15 years on my own in my own digital marketing agency. And back in 2022, when ChatGPT added an interface onto what we now call ChatGPT, I started using it, and I was like totally blown away. I'm like, this is absolutely amazing. The amount of productivity that I was able to gain just I saw it as an absolute. I know everybody says AI uses the word game changer too much. I used it before AI used it, but it really was a game changer for me. But I also noticed along with that, Gary, that a lot of my staff, they were concerned about it. They're like, oh, this AI stuff, this isn't cool. This is going to take our jobs. And so I was at a point after almost 15 years in my agency, it was time for me. I felt like to do a pivot. And so I said, you know what? I want to teach people how to leverage AI. I believe at the bottom of my heart that it is a tool that amplifies skill and experience. It is not a replacement for skill and experience. And as such, being an entrepreneur, I just believe it is probably the single best tool that's ever been available to us in the entrepreneurial community for our teams. I'm 56 years old. I've never seen anything that can help me get more done, can help me save time, can help me make more money, and even better, at the same time, add more value to my clients. So that's what I do now. I teach businesses and their teams how to leverage AI to do those things.
Perfect, mate. So this is one of the things I wanted to ask you, mate, and you've led this into the question perfectly anyway. But where does AI stop? Like, and then where does the human interaction begin? And I'll tell you why this question comes about, right? Is that we have a development team for our product, for our SMS platform. And we always want to do things quicker and faster and, develop a new app or this, that, and the other. And I always have ideas and I talk to my CTO and I go, why can't we just whip that up, like use Lovable or Bolt or one of those things like let's knock that stuff up. And he always holds me back because he's like, yeah, no, that's good. And he uses AI tools to enhance the coding as you should. But we had a really good conversation one day after I've been kind of pushing him. I'm like, why isn't this faster? Why can't you just get it done? I'm seeing all these people vibe coding and they're turning out an app in like a day or whatever. And he's like, but you have to understand, Gary. And he kind of sat me down and had a chat with me, right? Which was good. And he said, you have to understand that it's great and you can enhance stuff. But if you build it all with AI, let's say you're going to build your app with AI and then it breaks. and you need to troubleshoot it, decode it, or you just want to make a small change. Let's say you want to change that button from red to green, or you want to add a button. It's like if you build it all in AI, that's incredibly hard for us to do. So the reason why we take more time is that we're using AI to create parts of the code, but we're assembling the code. We understand how the code goes together because when something breaks, which it will, then we can
Yep.
troubleshoot and we can fix it quicker. And that was a really good conversation that he basically, just sat me down and talked to me a bit like a 5-year-old. Went, hang on, Gary, you don't understand this. I was like, fair enough. Thank you for explaining. But, where do you see that AI stops and then the human begins?
Well, actually, I think it's the other way around. I think it begins with humans. I think we have to come up with the ideas. It's funny. I just was reading a post earlier today. Somebody talked to me about how one of the AI models, I won't mention it, most people will probably know, but apparently claimed that it was part of Hitler's regime and it was a Nazi and everybody else. And they're like, this is why AI is dangerous. And I'm like, but what did they prompt it to do that? And they're like, well, what do you mean? What did it prompt to do that? I'm like, an AI doesn't just do things, it responds to the input. So it
Mm,
always begins with us as the humans. And I can tell ChatGPT and belittle it into telling me pretty much anything because it's like a personality that goes, you know what, Gary, if you want to believe that the sky is red, I'll just agree with you so we can stop arguing about it. And so I believe that everything starts with humans. I believe that the AI is the middle piece. It picks up the heavy lifting, so to speak. So, for example, if we're talking about app development, that idea needs to come from you. That plan needs to come from you. Now, AI can help you put the plan together. AI can help you. It's really a collaborative tool, something that you can use to build that out. AI may be able to do some of the coding, but ultimately, then the humans got to get back involved, just like your developer was saying, to make sure that everything works coherently together. Because if that's not the case, like you said, it will fail. There will be issues. And then how do you fix it? Going back and having AI fix something that it wrote is not the best plan moving forward when you're trying to maintain an application. Is it great for helping developers? 100%. Is it great for, minimum viable products? You bet. Is it something that I would want to build an enterprise level or even just a basic SaaS system on? Not a chance, not without a lot of human development where
mm.
that AI is serving as a collaborator, an assistant, not the one driving the ship, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And yeah, after having that conversation, I'm like, yeah, I completely got it after. And you've put another spin back to the beginning. Yeah, obviously it does start with the humans as well. But I'm like, wonder when we'll get to that point in time when we can do that because it's just moving so quickly now. Anyway, where we could just go, all right, well, you've developed this, and there's a lovely dashboard, but I want that button to be red, and it can just go and because the problem at the moment, a lot of the time, and with a lot of prompts, is the consistency of it. And there's either with an image or write me a webinar description or this or that or the other, is that you want to tweak it, but it'll almost redo the whole thing. So that's the
Sometimes it
challenge with a
does,
lot
and
of it.
and sometimes the prompts can be great, but the model's just having a bad day, quite literally. I mean, ChatGPT has been having a bad couple of weeks in responding. It's not working the way it has historically done. That's real traditional when models are ready to release new features. We see a decline in the functionality of their current model. I'm predicting that OpenAI is going to very soon be releasing a number of new features. They've been teasing that, but that's the other risk that you take is that if you become too reliant upon that AI, all of a sudden it may stop working properly for you. And it's one of the reasons I don't recommend that you put all of your eggs in one basket when it comes to picking an AI model. ChatGPT is great, Claude is great, Gemini is great, Grok can be great, other models that could be great. We could go on and on, but I don't recommend putting all of your eggs in one basket because if that provider has an issue and you don't have any way to use a different model, then you are going to be, so to speak, in the middle of a lake in a canoe without a paddle. So it's a bad spot to be.
Yeah. So on that, which are your favorite AI tools? Like what's in your toolkit, and then what tool do you bring out for what purpose as well?
So it changes month by month as things go on. ChatGPT has been one of my favorites for a long time, will likely continue to be. And the main reason is ChatGPT has an ecosystem called custom GPTs, where you can train a version of ChatGPT on your own data. And while Claude and Gemini also have that, ChatGPT does something none of them do. And they give you the ability to share that with anybody. And that is an absolute critical part of the way that I run my business, the way that many people run their businesses. And so ChatGPT is still probably my favorite. I'm a huge fan of Claude. I love Claude for writing, and it's fantastic for that. It's also very good for coding. But Claude has an Achilles heel in that if you start using it too much for them, they then just cut you off. And that's just, they're trying to get you to buy higher plans, and I get that, but it's very frustrating. My current probably go-to for most things right now is Google Gemini 2.5. And that's a little ironic because 6 months ago in January, I would have told you that, Google AI was somewhat akin to MySpace. It was totally 100% irrelevant because they had literally just failed at everything they tried. But the last 3, 4 months, they've really upped their game, and Google Gemini is fantastic right now.
Yeah, and now as well with the VO3 that they brought out for video as
Yep.
well, like incredible stuff. Like I use it just for tinkering around with my son. Like we just make little videos. We go, just tell it what you want, and we make a lot of zombie videos at the moment. That
Yeah,
seems
it's
to be
it's
his favorite.
amazing what they've done. Yeah,
Yeah,
it really is.
yeah, absolutely incredible. And how do you stay on top of it? I mean, the part of the challenge that I have, like in just in running a business, is I see all these AI tools. The Chat GPT custom GPTs are amazing. Like I create them, I share them. Got a couple of my team on here. We use them for creating our webinar descriptions, creating descriptions of or SOPs from videos that we've done for tutorials and stuff like that. So just incredible things. But keeping on top of it, like I see new stuff coming out and I was like, oh my God, how do you keep on top of all the advancements across, you've got text, video, images, voice. It's just incredible. I'm waiting for that all in one platform where they just Swiss Army knife the whole lot together and I can just go, right, create me a video with the perfect voice of this. Thank you very much. But at the moment, there's a lot of things to bolt together to get, certain things to work. So what's your,
There
well,
are.
I was going to say, what's your advice for people to keep on top of everything that's going on?
Well, I think, AI overwhelm is real. There's so much happening, and the rate of new advancement is just mind-blowing. My recommendation to all of my students, all of my clients, my entire community is pick a model or two that you like and stick with those, and don't worry about having the best possible model because things are changing so fast, Gary, that the best possible model today won't be the best possible model in 2 weeks. And if it is, it certainly won't be the best model in 4 weeks because things are changing so rapidly. As you begin to learn how to communicate with it well, it's called prompting. As you learn how to communicate with it well, which is, by the way, very easy because it's a large language model and works on natural language processing, then you will start going, you know what? I really love this video stuff. I want to get into the video. And there'll be some specialty tools that you'll want to learn. You may go, I'm more really into imagery. Again, special tools. Maybe you want to get into coding and vibe coding and that. And okay, there are different apps. But when you're getting started, and for most users, using tools like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini are really the key to becoming successful because they will allow you to leap ahead so far from a productivity standpoint, Gary, that while all of your competition is trying to go, oh, you should use this tool instead, you'll be getting boatloads of work done
Mm.
because you're using the tool you have in front of you instead of constantly searching for that perfect tool.
So all coming back to focus, 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 focus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you asked how do I keep up on it? I don't even try. I mean, I get news feeds all the time, and yes, I use AI to help identify things that are interesting, but probably 90% of the news that I read, I disregard because it's not really relevant to what's going on today. Now, there are some exceptions, but that's why it's not 100%. But the vast majority of like any news, doesn't matter what the topic is, the vast majority of the news is just noise and really isn't there to help you as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So a lot of what I think and see with it is like the fundamentals. It's like SEO and stuff that done for years. Like the fundamentals have stayed the same for years. There's a lot of noise, there's new signal,
Yep.
there's this, there's that, the other. And the fundamentals with AI, and you touched on this earlier, all comes down to the prompting, right? No matter what you're doing, you're
Yes.
coding something, you want an image, want a video, want a newsletter, this, that, and the other, research something, comes down to the prompting. So, I mean, would you agree with that, first of all? Do you think that that's...
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, again, going back to what we talked about, where people are like, but did you see AI did this? Well, it's because somebody told it to.
Mm.
It was either in the programming or in the prompting. You can, I can fire up ChatGPT on my laptop right now, and I can let it sit here for the next week while I'm camping. And if I don't ask it to do something, I will get no responses out of it. It won't do anything. I need to prompt it. I need to communicate with it in order for it to do something. So learning how to do that effectively, just like with a coworker, Gary, learning how to communicate with a coworker makes that working relationship better. The same is true with AI.
And you turn out a lot of prompts for people in your AI prompts for entrepreneurs group. Um, so again, we'll put the link for that. Definitely people should go and check that out and join that group. But what are your
Sure.
main
Thank
tips?
you.
Yeah, what are your main tips for creating really good prompts? Because, we could be a bit lazy with prompting, right? But the more detail and the more specific we can give it, and in
We
certain
can.
orders, we can definitely get better results. So sorry,
Well, I find
what's...
a lot of people, Gary, when they start using AI, I find a lot of people when they start using AI, they become what I call prompt hoarders. In other words, they start collecting all these prompts that they think they're going to use someday. The reality is, when it comes time to do that, you never can find the prompt you want, and then you still need to change it. So, what I recommend to people is, instead of hoarding a bunch of prompts and saving tons of them, use a prompt framework. In other words, there's a framework by which you can ask it questions. And when you do that, you'll get consistent, excellent results out of it. I recommend a four-step framework. I call it the perfect prompt framework. Yeah, it's cheesy, but it works really well. Step one is you tell the AI what type of expert it is. So if we're going to do some coding, you're an expert vibe coder. Step two, I need to give it some context. I want to create a dashboard to do the following, whatever that is. Step three, I need to ask it my question, create the dashboard. And step four is probably the most critical. And I rarely, if ever, see this. And this is so important. You end your prompts with a simple statement: ask me any questions you have. Because when you do that to any AI model that's out there, it will then evaluate the information you've given it, evaluate the objective you've given it, and go, hang on, Gary, I'm missing a few things here. And then, because you said, ask me any questions, it'll come back and go, oh, hey, I've got three more questions. When you do that and you answer those questions, the level of response, the quality of response you get is absolutely mind blowing. But no one wants to do that because they want to go, again, we want to hoard prompts, we want to save prompts. It's fun, it feels good. Oh, I've got this massive list of, I saw one the other day, well, almost 13,000 prompts somebody was gloating they had. Even with AI, it's hard to search that and find what you want.
Yeah.
It's so much easier just to go, you're this type of expert. I need a press release. You're an expert at writing press releases. I'm launching a new product, and here's what the details are. Please write me the press release and ask me any questions you have. I can do that in 30 seconds and get great responses.
Yeah. And guilty as charged. I started doing that, and I have a Google Doc where I have some prompts that I say, probably a few of yours to start out with, which I don't even look at anymore. And I do try and follow that framework because I've got that from you, from being part of that, part of your Facebook group, where, yeah, definitely start with, you are the expert in, and this is what I want you to do, and getting it to ask you questions as well. I'm sorry, and telling it what the output is that you want. I find that so my two go-tos that I use mostly is ChatGPT and Manus. I actually find
Love
that,
Mana. Great.
yeah, Manus, and what I use them for. So ChatGPT for me is a content creator. Like, write me a description of a Zoom webinar that we're running with Jonathan, et cetera, whatever it might be.
Yep.
Create me a series of newsletters. Do this, do that. For me, Manus is more of my research assistant. So if I want to find something out,
Mhm.
then I send it off, and it does more research for me. I don't really use it for creating content as such. And I find Manus is pretty good at asking questions to me, even without necessarily asking it. Say, hey, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go
Yes.
away and research. Um, Is there any other really good things that you would find Manus for as well? Because those, I mean, that's what I do all day. Is like create content or research stuff, and that's what I tend to find.
It's excellent at those. I do use it to create a lot of guides for me because when I'm looking to, again, I especially with my audience, I'm trying to add value, teach them how something works. Instead of me going through and laying out every step, I will often lay out an outline, have Manus fill that out, and then I'll go in and edit it, and that seems to work really, really well. Um, there's there's so much that it's capable of. One of the really cool things about Manus, if we've got anybody listening on the call that's like, man, I'm trying to manage my subscriptions, the chat part of their tool, which is very similar to like Chat GPT, is 100% free with unlimited usage. You only have to pay if you use their agentic features. And for those who wonder, what are the agentic features? That's when I go to it, for example, and I give it an objective, it puts together a task list, and then it starts executing on that task list for me. So I think the tools you're using are great. Like I said, I still use ChatGPT more than I use anything else. I do use Manus every day. I don't talk about it as much as fewer people are familiar with it, but it is incredibly powerful. And I absolutely believe they're putting a lot of pressure on ChatGPT and Google and Claude because of some of the functionality and the features that they have that make it an easy go-to when you're looking to get things done.
Yeah, cool. And I want to ask you this question because I've wanted to know this for ages, just because I see you producing this content. What do you use to create the images that you have with all your social media posts? Because they're awesome. I just got to say that they're
Thank
really
you.
good. What is it that you're using to create those?
So we're big believers in branded images, and I don't put logos on any of my images, but you would probably agree based on what you said. If you see one of my images, you almost automatically know it's one of my posts. We've got a particular style that we do in a 3D cartoon animation style that works very well for us. I have a custom GPT that is trained on our brand, trained on what type of images we want. We've uploaded lots of sample descriptions. There's all kinds of training data as part of it. And it doesn't create the images, it just creates the prompts. So we go in and we give it a concept, and then it gives us a prompt, or in this case, generally 5 image prompts. We then use Midjourney. We're exclusive on Midjourney for our images. We love what Midjourney does for the 3D cartoon images. And then we feed that in and get the images back from Midjourney and post those along the way and use those.
Okay, so yeah, so taking one, so this is again, this is where that human interaction is taking part. Because you could do that, you could create images in ChatGPT, but you've decided to go and get the
Yeah, I'm just
prompts
not that
there.
patient a man. It takes too long, and I don't like the style. Like so many tools, Gary, they're similar, but they're not identical. In other words, there are 7 or 8 really good image tools I could use. They all can create 3D cartoon images. I just like the style that I got out of Midjourney best, and so to me, that's why I stick with that. And I don't pop around models because then things start to look different, and then that brand continuity goes away. So in order to keep that brand, that's why we use ChatGPT to write the prompts for us, because that way anybody on my team, anybody on my marketing team or my ops team or anywhere else, they can create images for projects that they need to, and we know we're going to get consistent look and feel out of those images.
Yeah, very good. Let's talk about your group a little bit. So you've got, I think you're pretty close to 450,000 users now, if not just broken
Yeah,
through it.
just over 430 right now. Yep. So probably be 450 by the end of August.
And had a little bit of a bump in the road a couple of weeks ago with Facebook on.
Yeah, a lot of us did. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, nothing like getting my phone started to blow up about 10:30 at night going, the group's gone. And I'm like, what do you mean the group's gone? I'd been in it an hour earlier. And yeah, Facebook decided with no notification, no warning, and no explanation, by the way, other than to say we had violated their terms of service. They took down our group, but it wasn't just our group. As you know, Gary, they took down over 300. Some reports are over 1,000 groups. They just vanished. And but all I can tell you is that within 24 hours, I had something I never thought I'd get in my life from Facebook, and that was I'm sorry, our systems were too aggressive, and your group has been reinstated.
Oh,
No explanation as to what happened, no explanation or real apology, but we did get it did say literally, we're sorry, our systems acted too aggressively. The irony is their AI basically shut down our AI. So it's fun how that works on occasion. But we're back, everything's good. We have begun migrating off of Facebook for a lot of our content though, because it's a dangerous place to be when you can put all that work in and somebody can shut you down with literally zero explanation of what's happened. And we still don't know to this day exactly what happened. I've got my suspicions and I've written some articles about that, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah, well, you know the high level group as well, which is 100,000 or
Yeah.
so,
I
which
mean,
we're a big
high
part
level
of.
was another example. That was one of the groups that went down. And again, I've never seen anything in there that violates terms of service, but they lost their group. There were literally hundreds, some report thousands of groups that got shut down, and it all happened within just a few hour period. So it was definitely an automated process.
Yeah. So, and it made us accelerate. We'd been thinking about it for ages. I mean, our group is nowhere near the size of yours. We've got about 2,500 agencies in our group, but we'd been thinking about that for a while about making our own private little group, which we've done in Go Collab in high level,
Yeah, it's
which
where we moved ours to as well,
I think
and we
that's what
love
you're.
it.
Yeah, I think that's what you're using too. So it's definitely so like when you build that brand, and Facebook is great for engagement and your audience and people can join there and it's that one place where everybody is. It is a dangerous place to just build your business on though if you don't have a backup for it. So what advice have you got
Yeah.
for people for backing that up, so to speak, and making sure you've got a plan B?
Well, just I guess to have one because there is no backup of your Facebook group. They don't let you use any tools with it. They've turned everything off, so I can't really use any tools. In fact, it was funny. One of the major tool providers has been talking to me for months, and I wouldn't use them. Not that I didn't think they were good, but I'm like, Facebook's not going to let it work, and I'm not willing to take the risk because their filters are just crazy. And when I got shut down, they said, "Look, can we go in and can we, can you give us the moderator rights? Can we go in and show you what we can do with our software? And if it's a problem, our account will get banned as a moderator, not your group." And I'm like, sure. That was the day after my group got reinstated. They still have yet to figure out how to actually get that information. And this is a very large multinational company that sells software for Facebook. Facebook's not letting it work. They're just locking things down tight. So my advice, very similarly, is there's a risk and there's a reward. Why am I on Facebook? Because I can engage more people easily. It's a very easy way to get people in the top of my funnel. I immediately move them or try to move them into our free high level group or Go Collab group because there I have more control. They're not going to shut that down as long as I'm paying for it. Unlike Facebook, that could shut it down immediately. So does it make sense to have a Facebook group if your audience is there? Absolutely. But go in with your eyes wide open, knowing that Facebook can shut you down at any moment, and therefore your funnel needs to include that's only an engagement to get people into your funnel. It's not a nurture sequence how you nurture them because you could lose it again overnight.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going off topic of AI a little bit here, but I think this is an interesting part of the conversation, though, for people that are watching this, because we've got a lot of agencies trying to grow their business or scale their business, talking about that top of funnel. And as I said at the start, what you do is provide massive value, I would say, like just absolutely tons and tons of value. And then, you've got products, services on the back end of that, but I think people see that from all the value and they go, okay, well, now I do, and I've done it. I've purchased some of your webinars and stuff like that.
Yep.
Um, how do you manage to produce? Well, I guess I'm answering my own question here, but like using AI to produce all of that stuff to keep turning out so much value and so much content all the time. What's the process look like for Jonathan? You wake up tomorrow morning, you go, okay, this is what I'm doing today. Or I mean, you've probably got a plan for a week or something, I guess. But what's Jonathan's process of getting up, turning on the computer? This is what I'm gonna. This is what I'm gonna
There's
go
no doubt
through.
I leverage AI a lot, but my secret is ADHD. I got diagnosed with ADHD in about 12 years ago,
Mm.
and it is an absolute superpower when it comes to if you want to create content, because I do not have a content calendar. I cannot tell you at this point what I'm going to be posting about tomorrow. Part of that is great for having AI because I have the perfect excuse not to have a content calendar because I don't know what's going to happen between now and tomorrow morning. But the reality is I get up, my average day, I get up about 5:30 in the morning. I immediately go take a look at what's happening in the news. I have got AI giving me reports on what's happening in my groups as far as questions and what people are, we're trying to watch trends. And based upon that, then I have ideas and I feed those ideas into my custom GPTs that help me create content. And then something that still blows people away, I post it. If it's on my profile being posted, I'm posting it personally. My staff does not have access to my profile. Nobody has access to my profile, my personal profile. It's me. Now we have a company profile and that's different, but if it's being posted by my personal profile, and that's, by far and away the vast majority of my content, I post it personally. But here's the kicker. I spend about an hour a day, maybe 90 minutes on a busy day producing content, and that content literally is our organic sales engine that drives our business and drives our relationships.
It's funny how you mentioned ADHD. I think there's so many people and agency owners and people like you and I don't know if I've got ADHD, but I do know I did a personality test once and I was right in between I can't remember what they were called, but like the decisive, like the real driver who's just got to get
Yep.
stuff done, you want to get everything done, and then the perfectionist. And I sat
Yeah.
right in the middle of those two, like perfectly. And
So,
when we did this test, I was with a group of people, and everybody else was all on the left side of the nurturing and caring, and I was like, then there was me, and so they put the results up on the screen, and it showed a little dot for where everybody was. Didn't have their name, but it showed a little dot. So there was this little clump with everybody else, and then there was one dot over here,
There was
and
Gary, yeah.
the person sitting next to me, and he nudged me, and went, Jesus, who's that? I was like, fuck. But it really made me understand. It's like, oh, so I always have this drive for just doing so many things, but I want them to be perfect. And that's why I'm always like beating myself up. And I think there's so many of us that are entrepreneurs, agency owners who just like, oh, we need to do all these things, but we want them to be perfect. And then managing that internal battle of ourselves to go, all right, well, we just have to actually get something done, is an interesting journey to part of being able to grow something like you've managed to grow your group. But I guess at the same time, and I don't know if this is true, but from what you're saying, you're sort of managing that with, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So I don't have a content calendar as such, but I'll find information and I'll post that information out. And because then you can satisfy the new need and following new trends or new information without being stuck and too focused and rigid to, hey, here's a content calendar, here's what I must follow. So I think that's something that I can definitely resonate with for me.
Well, and
Um,
it's actually, Gary, if I can add, it's a really old model. I mean, I learned this from Zig Ziglar, a sales coach back from the 1970s and 80s. And Zig is known for one thing, he's passed at this point, but Zig is known for you can have anything in life you want if you help enough other people get what they want. In my mind, that converted to add tons of value. And if you add enough value, people will come buy stuff from you. And yeah, it works.
yeah, of course. Annette, just saying can you ask a question? Of course you can, Annette.
yes, hi.
Of course.
Jonathan, I first came across you in Seven Figure Agency, so it's amazing
Yeah.
to see how you've evolved and moved on from that. So you don't have your agency anymore,
No,
or it's
I
different?
stepped away. I stepped away from the agency in 2023, and I
Right.
owned it with my wife actually owned it. I worked for her, but she sold the agency. In fact, just over a year ago, July 15th. I guess
Right.
that would be today, wouldn't it, of last year? So yeah,
Yeah.
today is a year. Today is
A
a
year.
year ago
Yes.
that
Yeah.
she sold the
Yeah.
agency. Yeah, two
Okay.
two of all things, another seven-figure members. So it was really cool.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, I'm still with them.
Yeah,
I just love it. Now,
great group.
the question I have for you is relating to using, it's the process. So I've got the Chat GPT and I've purchased the model so that my team can be in it. But I find it very difficult to, like, we create little GPTs and we create projects and all that sort of stuff. But some of the projects I can't share with some of the team members. It just won't let me. And
Hmm.
also, then when you do come up with stuff and you think, right, well, then you just got to copy and paste it into somewhere else to get something done. And I find that really clunky, or am I doing it wrong?
Well, it's one of the reasons I love custom GPTs because you can share those with anybody that whether they have a free or paid account. So there's never a sharing issue. The other thing that you may want to look at in net is inside of GPTs, we're a big proponent of what we call creating specialists. In other words, you probably heard the phrase a jack of all trade, master of none. We believe that applies in AI as well. In other words, if I try to train an AI to do everything my agency does, it's never going to do all of them well because it's going to get very confused. If, on the other hand, if my agency does web copy and I have a specialist for that, we do ad copy and I have a specialist for Google ads, a specialist for Facebook ads, a specialist for YouTube campaigns, multiple specialists, literally an army of those, then we find they can work really, really well. And then there's a feature that is called stacking, where if you start your chat, so let's say I'm going to be creating a new campaign and I start by defining that campaign with my marketing expert, my marketing GPT. I then, when it gets time to create the landing page, I can literally type the @ symbol and bring in my landing page specialist GPT that is optimized for creating high converting landing pages. When the landing page is done and I need to write my Google ad, I can bring in my Google ad specialist and they can do that. But the neat thing is they then have access to that entire conversation. So all of my planning, all of my discussion, all of my explanation, they have access to that entire conversation. So I don't have to copy and paste anymore.
So it's in the same thread.
It's all in the same thread. So when I'm building out a campaign, I build out that entire campaign in one thread, but maybe with up to 12 different specialists, depending on what has to happen.
And then thank you, that's it's going to save so much time. But
Oh,
then when
yes.
you've got all that and you've got this great big long thread and you've got all the stuff, like you've got the landing page and you've got the ads and whatever, then you have to physically copy and paste it into like a Word doc or something.
Correct. Yeah. There's no easy way around that at this point in time. What we do is we're big Google Docs fans. One of the reasons that in Google Docs you can have tabs now, much like you can in spreadsheets, and so we can set up one Google Doc for an entire campaign, and then separate document tabs with different things. So there's a tab
Oh, I
with the
didn't know
email.
that. Wow.
There's a tab with social posts. There's a tab with the landing page copy. There's a tab with everything. And one of the tabs we create in there, Annette, is a link back to that original thread. And then we copy and paste the entire thread into the Google Doc on one of those tabs. That way, if any of my team members ever need access to that in the future, they have that entire conversational thread right there. It's really easy to copy and paste it. And now we have that available at any point in time in the future to use.
That's
Because if you've ever tried to search for your chat history, it's a nightmare on a good day.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, let alone share it with anyone in the team. Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it
One
works
more
really
question,
well.
if that's okay. What do you think out of all like that's a campaign, that's really good. Are there any actual things that AI can do apart from like we can get it to create all kinds of beautiful stuff to use, but we still have to implement it.
Yep, it can help. Well, it can help with the implementation. So we often use it to create an SOP to implement that. So, for example, I've got a training I'm doing tomorrow, and it's about how to create landing pages with AI. We're demoing it in high level because we're big fans of high level. You could use it anywhere, but we're demoing it in high level. And one of the last steps we do after creating that entire landing page, that includes the layout, the framework, the graphics, everything, all the content, is then we say now create an SOP for my team to build this as a funnel or whatever it's called in high level, to build
Funnel,
that to build that as a step by step in high level, or to build it in ClickFunnels, or to build it in whatever platform you're using. And then the neat thing is you've got all of that data and it pulls all that data into your SOP. You can now hand that to your team and go implement it.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Now, down the road, we're going to have more capabilities to have it to be able to connect and do some of that. But that's down the road. We're not there today. I'm very much a pragmatist when it comes to AI. Tomorrow doesn't exist today, so I don't care about it. That's my opinion only. but I don't want to plan for, or I'm not going to wait until I can do that because they've been talking about the ability to have AI connect with high level and build it out for you for 2 years. If
Yeah.
I'd been waiting, I'd be 2 years of getting nothing done. Nope. I'll just have it create the SOP and I'll have my team take care of it. And that's why I don't know whether it's called a landing page or a funnel at high level because I don't build them.
Right. So I'm very interested in joining or sending at least one of my team members to your landing page. Thanks. We've got so many landing pages to create for clients. So is that in high level?
Yep, it's a combination of custom GPTs, custom prompts, and then
No, the actual webinar.
the webinar is we run via it's a 3-day training. We're running it tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday.
Oh, right.
Replays are available. Yeah, it's and then there is we create a community for that where because part of the value is bringing the hundreds of people that take that into a community so that they can share their stories, they can share questions, have that to get that support. So
Thank you. Yeah.
I saw that post in your Facebook group. I was just scrolling quickly to see if I could find it and
Yeah.
copy
We've
it in, but
created hundreds of landing pages, so we don't really need that kind of, yeah, I'm more interested in but yeah, I think I've got enough now to be able to do it internally. So thank you so much.
absolutely, great question.
That's fantastic.
yeah, that'd be a good webinar that. And
Yeah.
good tips there. I didn't know that about Google Docs. I'll have to look at that.
No, isn't it brilliant? Yeah.
Yeah, I only learnt about the stacking last week with the at and bringing in another GPT into an existing one. And one of the things like I mean, you kind of touched on there, Annette, definitely around we can do all this stuff, but then we've got to put it somewhere and then we've got to get someone to implement it. So
Yeah.
right now, people worrying about their jobs and so on and so forth, I can create so much work, even just like for myself or for my team, that it's almost frustrating to me because I go, oh God, I could do all this and I can have this SOP, I can have this plan, I can do that, but it's still going to have that human interaction and human intervention to do the work.
Mm.
So AI is definitely not removing jobs at the moment. Well, I guess maybe in some areas it's kind of cutting some out. So I shouldn't say that. Someone will get me and say it is in some areas, but it's definitely expanding jobs in other areas so that you've got one manager could put out work to a bigger team in a faster way, but you've still got to have that stuff implemented and done. And as we talked about with like the coding, building funnels, taking that copy, putting it there, SOP, okay, now we need to build that funnel. It's accelerating stuff. I find it personally quite frustrating at times. So I'm like, okay, I know I can do all these things and I can get AI to give me the output of the here's what needs to be done, the plan. But now I've got to go and implement that plan, and then I've just given myself a bunch more work as well. So sometimes I just have to slow stuff down and just I put it on the back burner because I know that I can get that 80% done really quickly of the planning of it. But then it's going to take so much work for me to go and implement it, or even for the team to go and do, and just piling it up on their plate basically as well. So it's definitely still a big part of managing the outputs that need to be taken care of, right? And I
Yeah.
guess you're seeing that too, Annette.
I guess there's one more thing I just wanted to ask if that's okay, and that's I have writers on my team, and I've got rid of one of them because he just wasn't good enough anymore. And he was using ChatGPT quite badly. Um, I also don't want to rely on ChatGPT for content writing. I'm a copywriter, so see the value in like adding the personal stories and everything. But I was just wondering if there's any definitive on Google penalizing obvious or being able to detect and penalize from an SEO point of view, obvious AI written copy.
Gary, you want me to jump in with my opinion on this? I have an opinion. I don't know if it's definitive, but I definitely have an opinion.
You go for it.
All right, I'd be happy to. So there are two different schools of thought on this, Annette, and for everybody that's watching, I'm very clearly on the school of thought that is if you are producing helpful, valuable content to your audience, no one, including your audience nor any search engine, is going to care whether AI contributed to that process. We should not, as agencies or as businesses, be handing everything off to AI to create because we're going to get embarrassed sooner rather than later. I still have to edit all of my stuff, even with incredible prompts, incredible information, but I can now write a blog post in minutes instead of in hours. I can write social media posts in seconds instead of hours. And that allows me to get a lot more done, which is really relevant. Google's on the record stating that they don't care. They are on the record, and this is what's got a lot of people upset, is saying that if you're using AI to create worthless duplicate AI content, they're not going to index you anymore. They're not going to monetize you on YouTube. Facebook's going to get rid of you. But if you read what they're talking about, everybody's going, oh, they're getting rid of AI content. No, they're not. They're talking about people that are creating duplicate, copycat, low value content. We've all ran into people that are like, I'm going to have AI write 100 blog posts a day for me and post them. You can do that. You're going to have 100 blog posts, or at least 999 out of 1,000 that are junk that aren't going to add value to your audience. And Google's basically saying, we're just not going to index that stuff because it's junk. People
Well,
then go, oh, they're not going to index AI content. No, that's not what they're saying.
no.
Not at all. But and Facebook, they just announced they've got a new policy coming out that they're going to basically not be promoting, again, essentially bulk created, duplicate, low value content.
Awesome. That's really good to know.
Yeah, I knew that's what you were going to say because I saw your post the other day where you
I went on
basically
a little bit
stated
of a
that.
rant. Yeah.
Yeah, you stated that very clearly. I was like, I know what he's going to say here. I would add to that as well and just say, like, because my background is like in SEO, that's what got me into digital marketing. Is that if you had two pieces of content done, and one was by AI and one is not, or whatever it might be, and even if they're both of the same value to a degree, and this is just my personal opinion here, I think that if you've got certain tells in there that it's been done by AI, if you haven't, even if the content is really good, if you've got certain tells in there that's been done by AI, like that long dash that you get between certain words
M,
instead of
M
Yeah,
dash.
yeah,
Yeah.
commenting,
yeah.
I think if you haven't tweaked it and you can go, all right, these are both of equal value, but this one's got the tells in there, it was done by AI. The human one or the one that's been edited better to take those tells out is going to do better in terms of Google. That's
Yeah.
my thoughts with that as
That's
well.
what
So
I thought
yeah,
too.
you just
Yeah.
need to go through and check it. It's yeah, removing some of that stuff as well, I think. But
And some of the obvious words that nobody
yeah,
uses in real life. Yeah.
yeah, because we do exactly the same. We've got clients for SEO still for our agency, and we create content, but we have some very good prompts, and we go through and we do all that stuff, and then we go through and modify and edit it, and we'll even put sort of bits of content together that will create the FAQs and all that kind of stuff on as well. So good questions though. All right. We're getting near to the end of our time, Jonathan. Have you got any or I don't know if you've got any other questions in it that you wanted to ask as well, or
Um, is there anything else that you see, Jonathan, that would be coming up or for digital marketing agencies in particular as very useful, from that AI can do to really sort of, ramp up or reduce costs or whatever. Yeah, apart from the obvious, creating content and outlines and things like that. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing in my mind is not a specific task, but is a process.
Process.
Agencies need a workflow and process that um, your client, every client, you need to have all your relevant information on what they do, what their tone is, what their style is, what their brand is. And it can't just be in somebody's head. It needs to be in a document somewhere so that let's say you're working for my agency, when I come to you and say, hey, I need to have a new landing page put together, you already know everything there is to know about Whitebeard Strategies. You know everything there is to know about Jonathan. All you need to know about is what am I trying to sell on the landing page, or what do I want people to do? Is it a lead magnet, or am I selling? And that allows you to then leverage AI because you have that library of information on my company, who's your client. You can then have custom agents that are trained, those are just GPTs, by the way, that are trained on the way that your agency does stuff. So now anyone on your team can follow that SOP because it's really color by numbers. It's like, okay, we have a new landing page for Whitebeard Strategies. First, load up go to their Whitebeard Strategies GPT, engage the marketing manager, explain the project. Boom, paste the project brief in. Now it's a landing page, so we need to bring in our landing page creating specialist, and
To
it
do
could
the
be
strategy.
any series of those. We call it an AI command center. That's just a name I gave it, but it's really, as an agency, you need that command center where you've got all those specialists that you can call in and you've got the information on your clients, because the days of going, oh, where's this information should be gone. We need to have it digital somewhere. And the beauty is if we have it there, it can just be a Google Doc. It doesn't have to be some massive database. We can now leverage that information and our team can leverage that information so you can provide more value in less time.
Thank you. And do you have separate GPT agents for each client, or just you just feed them each time you're going to use them the company, like the client background information
Good
again?
question. You can do it either way. We train our students to create what we call an organizational GPT, which is, or a document, which is all of the organizational information. So who is Whitebeard Strategies in my case? What's my tone and style? Who do we serve? What do we sell them? All that type of stuff. And then that you should have specialists that are trained the way your agency does things. So you've got a marketing GPT guaranteed, you've got a website one, you've got whatever. But even within those, then you break those down. Like in the ads area, you're going to have a Google ad specialist, a Facebook ad specialist, a YouTube ad specialist, a LinkedIn, maybe even a Twitter X specialist, if those are services you're providing. Because again, I do find that master of all, jack of all trades, master of none really does fit when we're talking about AI. You
No,
want
I understand that. I
specialists,
just meant, say
not a.
we've got like 20 clients. So would you have, say, 10 specialist
I'd
GBTs,
have
and then you've got one for each
I'd have
client?
one
So
for
you
each
have
client, or I'd
200.
have a document for each client.
Right.
But yeah, but the specialist would be the same across all my clients. I would only
All
use them
clients. Yeah.
if I'm only
Yeah.
doing a website. I may not need my ad copy one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. Thank you. That's awesome. Wow, Jonathan. Wow.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Jonathan. And
This is what I love doing. This is just fun.
yeah, well, I think I messed up here and we would have got more people in if I hadn't had the wrong link at the start and got you in here late. So that we should have had
They'll
more
catch the
questions and
replay.
more people in. But yeah, people will catch the replay. And what's something you can leave us with? Because I know you've got hundreds of thousand people in your group, right? So what's something that you either get asked all the time that you want to tell people, or that one piece of advice that you want to give to people, that is common across everyone that you can leave us with? And then if people have got questions after this, please leave them in the comments below. We'll share out the replay and the links to your group.
I think probably one of the most common questions I get asked by entrepreneurs across the board is, how do I make money with AI? You don't make money with an AI product in 99.9% of the cases. You make money by going the old-fashioned way. You find a problem that you can solve, that somebody's willing to part with their money to pay you to solve. And then you use AI, and this is where AI gets involved. You use AI to deliver that solution faster, more efficiently, and more effectively. Most of us are not going to create another version of ChatGPT or a new AI tool that we're going to be able to sell to everybody. But if we can learn to solve problems and leverage AI as a tool, imagine the difference between putting on a roof with a nail and a hammer and putting on a roofing shingles with a pneumatic hammer that every time you touch it, it puts a nail in. The guy with the pneumatic nailer is going to make a lot more money and do a lot more roofs, probably better than the guy who's doing it by hand.
Beautiful, man. All right. Well, we're just wrapping up here. Sorry, Shimon has just joined like right at the end. Sorry, mate. We're just wrapping up now, but we'll put the links for the replay and everything for
All
you, mate.
good.
But if anybody wants to join your group, AI Prompts for Entrepreneurs, definitely join that. There will be a link either below, side, wherever on this video in the description there. Join that, get all the free value and content that Jonathan provides. You should definitely go on some of his paid webinars and stuff like that as well. That, I mean, you do those for like 20 bucks a pop and stuff like that. I've seen those coming up as well. So definitely get on board with some of those. And Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on. I know, like I said at the start, we postponed a couple of times. I appreciate that today you're sitting in your RV camping and you've taken the time out to come in and do this, mate. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.